and welcome to my channel. My name is Whitney Baldwin and I do a lot of creative stuff here. Today I would like to show you how I built this shiplap wall. If you would like to see how I built my shiplap wall, not only this one, but I also put shiplap behind this little shadow box because I'm turning what was originally the living room into a bedroom and I needed to seal it off. So this is what the shiplap looks like from behind. Just keep watching. As always, I will have the materials list and links to the products I used in the description bar below. So give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get into it. For this project, you will need some sort of finish or brad nailer, finish or brad nails, and a compressor, screwdriver to take off your faceplates, pencil for marking your cuts and studs, caulk, adhesive, caulking gun, level paint and roller, and a skill saw, and of course, your plywood. I used a 1/4 inch 4x8 BC Sanded Pine Plywood for my boards. You can have your boards ripped down at Home Depot or the lumberyard, or you can do it yourself. You might also want to add some helpers to your materials list. I was fortunate enough to use my mom and dad. P.S. This is not actually a table saw. My dad built it out of scraps like MacGyver, so please don't try this at home. I ripped my boards down to 5 7/8 so I could get 8 boards per sheet of plywood. Next, you're going to sand down your edges so the boards don't have any splinters, and then you're going to paint at least the edges with your desired paint color. We went ahead and painted the whole thing so the nails would actually show through at the end. You want to be in my video? If you are intending on covering a specific area, start with the area first. If not, then start from the top down or the bottom up. I was trying to hide this long notch that the electricians had to make to install an overhead light fixture in this room. If you don't already have a hole in your wall where you can see your studs, you're going to want to invest in a stud finder and mark your studs with a pencil, lightly. You don't want them to show through. Then use a jigsaw to cut out the areas for your light switches, outlets, and door jambs. Once your boards have dried and you've made all of your detailed cuts, now it's time to hang the first piece. You can use either a brad or a finish nailer, and you can also adjust the pressure on your compressor if the nail is driven in too deeply or not deep enough. Make sure to check if everything is level before you finish nailing down the board. You can also use glue such as liquid nails if you'd like a little extra security. Also, make sure that you have painted the background wall the desired color because that color will peek through the cracks. I decided to match it with my boards so it looked like one seamless design. I used nickels as spacers between the boards and I love, love, love how it turned out. Once you have all of your boards up, go ahead and caulk the baseboard, the ceiling, and the corners. It will give it a nice, clean, and finished look. You can leave the vertical seams and the nail holes exposed if you'd like. I think I'm going to. I may eventually put wood putty in and fill it in so they look like one continuous long board, but I kind of like it for now. It gives it a very rustic look. But one thing I wanted to point out to you guys is the two different nail holes. When I first started, I was using my finish nailer, the one on the bottom, and then I changed to the brad nailer on top because I ran out of finish nails and I actually like the brad nails better. The finish nails are just a little bit too intense. I could have turned down the pressure on my compressor, but I do kind of like how the brad nails are just a tad bit smaller, but you can do the finish nails if you like a more rugged type of look. I couldn't really get a good shot of the whole wall in the room, I'm sorry guys, but here's what it looks like from afar. I loved the way this first wall turned out, so I ended up buying another sheet of plywood and putting up some shiplap behind a shadow box that I had to fill in the front entryway. This time I wanted to give the boards a very distressed and vintage look, so I painted the boards white, and then once that dried, I painted a layer of gray over top. This is BEHR's Gentle Rain in an eggshell finish, and it is the same paint that I painted on the walls here in the kitchen. A tip for getting less splintering while cutting plywood is to cut from the backside of your plank when you are using a circular saw. Typically, splintering occurs on the side where the teeth of the blade exit. You're going to want to measure the length of board that you need with your tape measure. Put a little mark and then use your square or some sort of ruler to mark a straight line through that notch. I like using my square as a guide for the left edge of the plate on my saw. This helps me get a really straight cut. To get that vintage distressed look, you're going to want to sand down the top layer of paint until the first layer starts to show through. The sanding can be done by hand, but I like using a power sander because it's way more efficient and way more even throughout the board. It might also be fun to use a contrasting color like a teal behind and then a white on top. So then as you sand down, you could get the teal color to shine through. So these are all of my boards sanded down and ready to go up behind that shadow box. And I just love how this technique turned out. I think it really does look distressed and vintage. Again, here I used nickels as my spacers, and I just used my brad nailer again to nail into the vertical studs of the shadow box. At this stage, you can see light showing through the shiplap, but I will be drywalling in the closets behind, so that is what will end up finishing off the front of this shadow box. And holy camole, it is finished, and I just love how this turned out. I feel like it adds so much to the room and solved a problem I had of enclosing this little shadow box. Ah, I still have a nickel in there. Crap. Alright, that is it for this video, you guys. Thank you so much for renovating with me. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos on this house and how I restore it. It's an old farmhouse from 1873 that I'm trying to make beautiful again. So subscribe if you would like to see how renovations are coming along on this house, and I will see you on the next one. Bye, guys. Mwah.